I want you to close your eyes for a second. Just imagine a very specific kind of chaos.
Oh, boy. Setting the scene early.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Friday night, you're hungry, you walk into a casual dining restaurant, and you were just hit with this wall of sound.
Right, the clinking plates, people talking over each other.
Yeah, and maybe a birthday song being shouted in the corner, the smell of seasoned fries.
I know exactly the vibe you mean. It's that loud, fun, sort of sweet spot of American casual dining.
Exactly. It's controlled chaos. Families love it because, let's be honest, it means nobody is judging you if your kid spills a soda.
There are balloons everywhere. It's safe.
Right. Now, I want you to imagine you are the CEO of the company that essentially owns that exact vibe. You're the king of the burger world.
Okay, I'm with you.
And then you sit back and watch your stock price collapse by 96%.
96%.
Yeah, you go from a Wall Street darling to a penny stock practically overnight.
That is just, that's a staggering drop. Usually when you see a number like 96%, you assume the absolute worst.
Like a massive accounting scandal or something?
Right, or a nationwide food poisoning outbreak.
Mm.
Or the CEO took the pension fund and fled the country.
You definitely expect a headline-grabbing disaster, but here is the crazy thing about the story we are unpacking today. The disaster wasn't an explosion.
No.
It wasn't a scandal. It was a spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet, which sounds so much more boring, but it's actually so much more dangerous.
It really is. So today, we are doing a deep dive into the catastrophic collapse of Red Robin.
And we're contrasting it with the massive resurgence of Chili's, which is a wild comparison.
It is. But, and here's the twist for today, we aren't just looking at menu prices or marketing campaigns. We're going to analyze this whole story through a very specific lens.
Right. The core philosophies from the book Support Experience by Krishna Raj Raja.
Which is fascinating because, that book is usually considered the Bible for tech support. It's for B2B customer success.
Software, usually.
Yeah, exactly. But as we went through the research, specifically this great breakdown from Gary's list regarding Red Robin's operations, it became so obvious.
That's the exact same problem.
Yes. The reason this burger chain fell apart is the exact same reason software companies churn customers or banks lose accounts.
Because it really comes down to a fundamental philosophical question. Every business leader has to answer this, whether they realize it or not.
Which is
support. Whether that's a busser cleaning a table or a tech agent answering a software ticket, is that a cost center that you need to minimize? Or is it a revenue center? Is it the product itself?
That is the million-dollar question. Actually, in Red Robin's case, it was the billion-dollar question.
Because that is how much value they lost.
Right. And the central mystery we really need to solve today for you guys is this. How do highly paid executives, people with MBAs and decades of experience, very smart people, how do they decide to save money by firing the very people who make the customer experience possible?
It is a classic tragedy of short-termism.
So let's rewind to the good old days. We are talking 2015, maybe 2016. Red Robin is arguably the king of the burger chains.
The stock is trading at around $92. Revenue is peaking at $1.4 billion. They had really strong brand equity.
They really did. In the incredibly crowded casual dining space, they had a moat. It was the gourmet burger positioning.
Yeah, it felt slightly more upscale than fast food, but still safe for families. You knew exactly what you were getting.
But then we hit the turning point. January 2018, the CEO at the time, Steve Carley, is staring at a problem that basically every business owner faces.
Margin compression.
Exactly.
This is the context we really have to understand. It wasn't like he just woke up and decided to break the company on purpose.
Right. Minimum wage legislation was passing in a lot of states.
Labor costs were rising. And if you run a restaurant, labor is your biggest line item next to food cost. The pressure to show profit on a quarterly earnings call is immense.
So he turns to the spreadsheet. He needs to make the numbers work for Wall Street.
And he makes a decision that strictly on paper looks like pure efficiency.
He decides to eliminate the bussers, the people who clear the tables.
And it wasn't just the bussers either. They went after the expeditors too.
Yeah, explain what an expediter does. Because I feel like that sounds like a throwaway corporate role until you realize what happens without one.
Oh, the expeditors, the traffic controller? They stand at that's the window between the hot kitchen and the dining room.
Okay.
They make sure the fries are hot. They make sure the burger has no onions like the customer asked. And crucially, they make sure the whole table's food goes out together.
So mom isn't eating 10 minutes after dad.
Exactly. They are the quality control firewall. And Red Robin fired them.
So they fired the people who clean the tables and the people who make sure the food is right. They also downgraded kitchen managers to generic back-of-house roles.
I want to pause on the logic here, because this is where we get into the head and head of a cost-centered thinker. This ties right back to the book.
Right.
If you are sitting in a boardroom looking at an Excel sheet, a busser doesn't look like a revenue generator. They look like an expense. They are just a negative number in the labor column.
It's literally just math to them.
Exactly. So if you delete that row, the math says you save millions of dollars instantly.
You've optimized for the present moment.
What Gary's List calls the 1.05x present. You squeezed a nickel out of the current quarter to make the investors happy for 90 days.
But you completely ignored the reality of the physical world. The sources we looked at detail these second and third order effects, and they were just brutal.
Because operations are integrated. Everything touches everything else.
Right. Because, and this seems obvious to anyone who has ever eaten at a restaurant, when you fire the bussers, the tables don't clear themselves.
No, they sit there. And this brings us to a big concept from the Support Experience book, the idea of integration versus isolation.
Okay, break that down.
The executives isolated the labor cost as a variable. They thought they could cut it without touching revenue. But like we just said, operations are integrated.
Right, because here is what actually happened on the ground. A family walks in. They see empty tables.
But every single one of them is covered in dirty dishes, ketchup smears, used napkins.
So the host at the front can't seat them. The whole system is jammed.
Which means a line forms at the door. Not because the restaurant is full of paying customers, but because the restaurant is full of dirty dishes.
That is such a wild visual. And that creates the deadliest metric in the hospitality industry, and really in any business, the walkaway.
The data here is staggering. Walkaways increased 85% year over year.
85%. That is nearly doubling the number of people who drive to your restaurant, walk in the door, look around at the mess, and just leave without spending a dime.
Think about the marketing cost wasted there. You paid to acquire that customer. You put up billboards, you ran ads, you got them to the door.
And then you lost them because you wanted to save $12 an hour on a busser.
And the kicker is when it happened. The data showed that 75% of this traffic loss happened during peak hours.
Lunch and dinner rush. Literally the only time restaurants actually make money.
So you are effectively capping your own revenue. You have created a glass ceiling made of dirty dishes. You physically cannot seat the people who want to give you money.
But wait, it gets worse? This is honestly my favorite part of the disaster because it shows such a massive disconnect between strategy and operations.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
At the exact same time they are gutting the staff, they launch a new marketing campaign.
The Tavern Double.
The Tavern Double. Oh. A value menu burger for $6.99.
This is the literal definition of a death spiral. Walk me through the logic these executives must have had.
I guess the logic is, traffic is down because wait times are long, so we need a really cheap deal to bribe people to come back in.
But look at the reality. You have fewer staff. They are stressed out because they are now doing 3 jobs, serving, bussing, and expediting.
Yeah.
And now you flood the kitchen with orders for a cheap burger that has a razor-thin margin.
So orders for the cheap burgers jump to 15% of the total mix.
Which means they're working harder, serving worse food, in a messy environment, for less money per check.
And the stock chart tells the rest of the story. It went from that $93 high down to, at one point, $3.61.
The market cap dropped from billions to just 65 million.
It is breathtakingly bad management. But I want to pivot back to the Support Experience book here. Because as I was reading about the Tavern Double and the dirty tables, I kept thinking about the concept of the yellow state.
Yes, this is a core framework from Krishna Raj Raja's book. It's a way of diagnosing the health of a system, and it applies so perfectly here.
Because usually we think in binary terms, right? Green means the system is up and working perfectly. Red means it's broken.
Right. A red state failure is obvious. The server crashed, or the restaurant literally burned down.
Everyone knows there's a problem.
The alarm bells are ringing. You call the fire department or the DevOps team. You fix it immediately because you have 0 revenue coming in.
But Red Robin wasn't in a red state. The doors were open. You could technically walk in and order a burger.
They were firmly in the yellow state.
Yeah.
The yellow state is when the system is functional, but it is degraded. It is slow. It's frictional. It's annoying.
Right.
And the book argues that the yellow state is actually significantly more dangerous than the red state because it is insidious.
Because in a yellow state, you can pretend everything is fine.
Exactly. In a red state, you fix it immediately. In the yellow state, management can look at the numbers and say, hey, we served 500 burgers today. We're operational.
But they aren't measuring the friction. They aren't measuring the frustration of the people eating those burgers.
And that leads to abandonment.
Abandonment. The silent killer.
It really is. The customers at Red Robin didn't necessarily scream at the managers. They didn't all write angry letters to corporate.
They just walked in, saw the mess, waited 20 minutes for a water refill, and silently decided, I'm never coming back here.
They abandoned the brand silently. You lose customers before you even realize the revenue impact. The book talks about how abandonment is the invisible villain.
And this connects back to how management measures success, doesn't it? Red Robin was looking at lagging indicators.
Yes, lagging indicators.
Which would be the quarterly savings report.
Right. Like, look, we saved $5 million on labor this quarter. That is a lagging indicator of a decision made months ago. They were missing the leading indicators.
Which would have been the reality of the dining room floor.
Exactly. The sentiment, the friction, the fact that a family is staring at a table covered in someone else's ketchup.
There is a great line in the Support Experience book. The voice of the customer is not always loud. It's found in the friction.
I love that line. Red Robin ignored the friction because the spreadsheet looked good.
It's so interesting because the book focuses on technology support. Like when your software is glitchy but not fully broken, users just stop logging in.
They don't file a ticket. They just leave.
And Red Robin users just stop driving to the restaurant. It's the exact same behavior.
It really is. And while Red Robin was dying by spreadsheet, we have this counterexample in the sources that makes the failure look even worse. We have to talk about Chili's.
Chili's is the perfect foil here because a few years ago, they were in the exact same boat.
Tired brand, casual dining was dying, millennials were supposedly killing Applebee's, all of that.
And then Kevin Hochman takes over as CEO in 2022. Now, Hochman came from KFC and Pizza Hut. He knows fast food.
But instead of looking at the labor line item and cutting it, he did something very different.
He invested in operations, but not just throwing money at it. He simplified it.
Simplification is key. He looked at the yellow state of Chili's, slow kitchen times, a super complicated menu, and he removed the friction.
He cut menu items that were hard to make. He actually made the kitchen's job easier.
And most importantly, he kept the staff.
Right.
He understood that if the kitchen runs smooth, the food comes out hot. If the food comes out hot, the customer's happy. Then and only then did he turn on the marketing hose with the 3 for Me deal.
Oh, that was the $10.99 deal that went completely viral on TikTok? My feed was full of it for a while.
It went viral because the experience actually delivered on the promise. You can't have a viral hit if the product sucks when people show up.
So the results, Chili's posted 31% same-store sales growth,
while Red Robin continued to bleed out.
The market cap comparison is it's huge. Chili's is worth $3.3 billion. Red Robin is worth $65 million.
That is a 50x difference. And it illustrates the shift from cost center thinking to revenue center thinking. This is the absolute heart of the support experience philosophy.
Break that down for us in this context.
Red Robin viewed the service staff, the support, as a cost center, something to be minimized. Mm-hmm. How few people can we get away with?
Right.
Chili's viewed the experience as a revenue center. How much can we improve the experience so that people come back more often?
There is a quote from Steve Jobs referenced in the intro of the Support Experience book that I think fits perfectly here.
Oh, I know the one.
Our task is to read things that are not yet on the page.
I love that quote. Red Robin read the page, and the page was the spreadsheet. It said, labor is expensive.
Cut it.
Cut it. Chili's read the things not on the page. They read the human desire for a stress-free meal where you don't have to bus your own table.
It seems so obvious when we say it like that. But Red Robin went through 5 CEOs in 10 years. How did 5 different highly paid executives miss this?
That brings us to another key concept from the book, the trap of big data versus thick data.
Thick data. I love that term. It sounds substantial. What does it mean?
This comes from research by Tricia Wang, which is highlighted in the book. Big data is the numbers. It's the millions of data points.
So for Red Robin, that was the labor costs, the average check size, maybe generic survey scores.
Exactly. Big data gives you the what. It tells you sales are down, but it doesn't tell you why.
And that is where thick data comes in.
So thick data gives you the why. It is the human narrative. It is the qualitative experience. It is the emotion of a mother trying to find a clean spot to put her baby's high chair.
So Red Robin had plenty of big data. They knew exactly how much a busser cost per hour.
But they had a massive blind spot regarding the thick data. They had what's called quantification bias.
Meaning they only cared about what they could count?
They valued what they could measure on a spreadsheet over the actual human experience. They optimized for efficiency by getting rid of the bussers, but ignored the human reality.
Which is, as the source says, people don't want to sit at a table covered in someone else's ketchup.
Precisely. You can't put a metric on the gross-out factor, so they just ignored it. And the source material actually mentions something called Jevons paradox in relation to this.
Oh, Jevons paradox. I've heard this in economics class, but remind me how it applies to burgers.
It's surprisingly relevant. Jevons paradox states that when you make a resource more efficient, you don't actually use less of it. You use more of it because demand increases.
So if you make cars more fuel efficient, people drive more, so we end up using more gas overall.
Exactly. Right. Now apply that to business operations. The Red Robin approach is to use efficiency, to cut. We can do the same work with less people.
That is a race to the bottom. It's totally defensive.
You're just trying to maintain the status quo with less money, which inevitably leads to that yellow state degradation.
Right.
The Chili's approach, and the approach championed by Gary's List and the Support Experience book, is to boil the lakes.
Boil the lakes? That sounds aggressive. What does that mean?
It means using efficiency to do more, to raise your ambition. Instead of saying, how can we serve these burgers with fewer staff?
You ask, how can we create an experience so good that people are lining up out the door and we need more staff to handle the volume?
That is the revenue center mindset again, using efficiency to drive growth, not just savings.
And think about this in the modern context of AI, right?
Oh, definitely.
In the AI age, if your plan is just to cut costs to the bone, you are Red Robin. You are creating a yellow state that will eventually kill you.
Because customers would just get frustrated with the cheap chatbot and leave.
Right. But if your plan is to use AI to make your support experience faster, better, and more proactive to boil the lakes, then you are Chili's.
And this leads us to the broader context here. Yeah. The book argues we are living in the experience economy.
We really are. Customer expectations have never been higher, and tolerance for friction has never been lower.
The book cites a stat that 96% of B2B buyers say the support experience determines who they buy from.
Wow.
And 50% will leave after just one bad experience.
One bad experience. That is the walkaway stat again.
It is one dirty table, one rude interaction, one software glitch, and they are gone.
And the irony is that companies often try to fix this with retention tactics rather than adoption tactics.
This is a crucial distinction that the book makes. Retention tactics are things like loyalty programs, email marketing, re-engagement campaigns, things designed to keep the customer.
Oh, and Red Robin launched a new loyalty program right in the middle of their collapse.
Exactly. So they are sending me emails to come back and earn points, but when I get there, the table is dirty.
They failed at adoption.
In the context of the book, adoption means actually delivering the core service well, so the customer gets real value from it.
If the core experience, the burger, the clean table, the software working isn't happening, no amount of retention marketing will save you.
You cannot loyalty program your way out of a bad experience.
You really can't. You have to fix the yellow state issues first. You have to invest in the support experience.
It is a tale of two chains, really.
Yeah.
One optimized for the spreadsheet, one optimized for the customer actually walking through the door.
And the market cap tells the truth in the end. A 50x difference in value. The market eventually punishes the yellow state.
It is a stark warning.
So if we are wrapping this up, the big takeaway for me is the danger of that yellow state. You think you are saving money, but you are actually creating silent abandonment.
That is it entirely. If you are cutting support, whether that is bussers in a restaurant or support agents in a software company, to save a percentage point on a margin, you need to be very, very careful.
You might be triggering a death spiral.
It brings it all back to that idea of reading what is not on the page. The spreadsheet won't tell you that your customers are annoyed.
No, it won't.
And I would leave the listener with this thought to kind of mull over. Look at your own business. Where are you firing the bussers right now?
Oof, that's a good question.
Where are you creating a yellow state for your customers just to save a few dollars in the short term? Because those are the decisions that look like pure genius on a quarterly call.
And look like absolute disaster 3 years later.
Exactly. Don't trade your future for a slightly better quarter three.
That is a scary thought, but a necessary one. Don't let your business die by spreadsheet. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We will catch you on the next one.